girls, today we are at session number 11 talking about enjoying exercise. So far we've covered food, how to listen to your body, emotional eating, respecting your body, and you may have been wondering, are we going to cover exercise? So today we're going to do that for you, and we are going to talk about the many benefits of exercise aside from it being a tool to help you get to your natural weight. So some of those benefits are it helps to fight depression and anxiety. It helps to build muscle mass on your body to help with your metabolism. It helps to release good hormones and increase your mood. But there can also be some negative effects from too much exercise, which is exactly what Simi is going to share with you today.
Yeah, just like everything else in intuitive eating, it's all about balance. Exercise is about balance too. So there's this spectrum, and you can locate where you are in this spectrum. On one side, maybe you're someone who has close to no physical activity in your life. And so you're looking for the benefits of exercise. You're looking for that energy. You're looking for that toned body. You're looking for that increased mood, all of those great things that come from exercise. But you may be someone who's on the opposite end of the spectrum, which is where over-exercise is happening. And where there's over-exercise, there's a lot of negative effects there. Just like a good amount of exercise promotes healthy hormonal balance, a rocket metabolism, you're feeling really good in your body, too much exercise leads to things like hormonal imbalance. So what happens is our body is only built to handle a certain amount of stress every single day. But when we have too much exercise, that is a big stressor on our bodies. So it spikes the hormone, the stress hormone cortisol, and what happens is that leads to hormonal imbalance all through our body, so it can lead to period irregularities, breakouts on the skin. And one of people's least favorite side effects of too much cortisol is an excess of fat in the belly area. Mm-hmm. So you may be feeling really frustrated because you've been really watching what you eat. Maybe before intuitive eating, when you were dieting, you were, eating 1,200 calories a day and working out like 3 hours a day, and the scale was not going down. Or even worse, maybe in your mind, the scale was going up and you had no idea why this is happening. This is a really normal thing. It's actually a thing that I experienced in my own life when I was over-exercising. I could not get the scale to go down. I'd be working out for 2 hours a day and restricting food. And at one point the scale would go up 5 pounds, and I was so confused. And that's what happens when we over-exercise. So like everything else in intuitive eating, we want to find that awesome balance where you're getting enough exercise to experience the benefits and you're really enjoying it, but you're not getting too much exercise where you're experiencing some of those negative effects like unwanted weight gain, or feeling really irritable or agitated, or being so hungry that you're just constantly needing to eat and never feel like you're satisfied. So we want to help you find that balance today in this session all about enjoying exercise. We're going to take you through 3 steps to get there. The first step is consistently practicing exercise that's fun and moderate, feels good in your body. The second is turning exercise from a punishment to a nourishment for your body. And the last is to practice moving regularly in your daily life. So not just exercise in the gym, but how can you just be more active on a regular basis? Step number 1 is consistently practicing exercise that's moderate and fun. Exercise does not have to be boring, it doesn't have to be terrible, and you don't have to constantly be feeling like, oh, I wish I didn't have to exercise, or I really don't want to go exercise. Mm-hmm. And the way that you get past that is to find something that you actually enjoy doing. There are so many ways to exercise. You can go take a fun group class, you can take a yoga class, or you can take a bar class, or you can take a step class. You can go for a long walk with a great friend, or go for a jog with a friend. If you're into more short, intense workouts, you can do some high intensity interval training, or hop on a treadmill for 15 minutes and just do some sprint circuits. There are literally so many different things that you can do, and there is no point in wasting your time or energy doing an exercise that you don't enjoy. So if you are struggling to come up with something that you actually would enjoy, we want you to think about, when was the last time that you had some fun exercising? Maybe it was like jumping on the trampoline when you were a kid. You can get a mini trampoline, or you can go to one of those adult trampoline parks that are amazing workouts. There's so many cool, fun things to do. So just like we don't want you to waste room in your tummy eating food that you don't really enjoy, we don't want you to waste, the hours, the minutes of your day doing exercise that isn't fun. When you come up with something that you really enjoy, even if it's like turning on Taylor Swift and just dancing around your house, that's totally exercise. When you have something that you'll look forward to, it'll make it so much easier to stay consistent.
And speaking of consistency is one of the most important parts, other than having so much fun, about exercise. So a simple way to start being consistent with your exercise is to schedule what I like to call no budge appointments with yourself in your calendar. So just like you would schedule going to dinner with your best friend or schedule a doctor's appointment, you want to schedule a couple times a week, start with, that you'll go exercise, and you'll do it just for yourself as something that makes you feel energized, relaxed, something that you can have fun with, and don't move that appointment, because this is a huge part of taking a step in self-care and really making that a priority. So put it in your calendar, follow through with it, and once you've done it, you can take your little highlighter and mark over it like, I just did that for myself. I just took whatever amount of time it was, whatever kind of exercise it was, even if it's riding a skateboard, going on a walk with your friend, going surfing if you live in California.
Not if you live in Ohio.
Anything like that that's fun. Just schedule the time for yourself, and when it comes to the point that you're going to exercise, pick whatever sounds fun in the moment, and just practice doing that for a while until you feel like you're consistently making the time for movement.
Step number 2 is turning exercise from punishment into nourishment. So like we talked about in the beginning, there is something called too much exercise, and that would be a punishment on your body. Also, if you're doing exercise that is not fun, that feels like a punishment. You're supposed to be doing something for yourself when you're exercising. So if you're not enjoying it, then what really is the point? It's going to be a lot harder to stick with it that way. With exercise being a punishment, with too much exercise, you really want to think about the effect that it's having on your body. So like I said, your body can handle so much stress every single day. You want to think of your body as having like a little cup, and it only fits so many ounces of the stress water in it. And so on a normal day, if you exercise a little bit, have a little bit of work stress, maybe you're waiting in a traffic jam, whatever, typical life stressors, nothing too crazy, your cup is not going to get to the top. Your body naturally empties it out, and you start over again the next day. But when you are overloaded with stress, whether it's you have a ton of work stress, and then on top of that, you are doing a really intense exercise, and that's overflowing your cup. Or maybe your body has a chronic illness, that's a stressor. For me, I have celiac disease, that is a stressor on my body. So it's something that I'm consciously aware of all the time. So you need to think about your stressors, which change from season to season. Sometimes you have a lot of family stress, sometimes work stress, sometimes physical stress, whatever it is. And be aware that working out, while it has amazing benefits, it is also a stressor. So when we have too much of it in our lives, it overloads that cup. Likewise, if you're working out for 2 or 3 hours a day, that is a crap load of stress going into that cup. You're likely to overflow. If you think about professional athletes who are working out so much, I mean, that's their job, that's what they have to do. Look at the rest of their lifestyle. They are doing so many things to bring stress down everywhere else. They're constantly getting massages. They're taking ice baths. They're going to spas. They're sleeping like 12, oh, thank you. They're sleeping like 12 hours a night. They're doing all of these things to bring the stress down in their body so that their bodies are able to handle all of that workout related stress. For the majority of us who are not professional athletes, we can't structure our lives in that way. So we need to make sure that exercise is complementing our lives and not bringing us down. So when it's helpful when we start to think of exercise as something that we're nourishing our body with, as opposed to something that we're punishing our body with, because then we're able to notice like, hey, I actually have been working out so much that it's become more of a punishment than it is a nourishment. Or if you're someone who isn't working out at all, you may be thinking of exercise as a punishment. It's like, oh, I don't want to do that. I hate that. That sounds terrible. But if you start to find an exercise that's fun and you realize that it's benefiting your body and it's nourishing your body, and you start to think about the way that it's going to make you feel both in the moment and afterwards, it's way more motivating.
And you can be so much more consistent with it because you're excited about it. Like when I used to do step classes, I'm not doing them now because I just changed gyms, but when I would do that, I would be so excited to get there because I love the group of people that were there. So you want to be picking exercise that reduces your stress and not adds to it, like Simi's talking about. And one thing I know for sure that can add stress to your exercise is, just like we talked about with the scale, focusing on numbers. So making your exercise all about like the miles that you're gonna go, or doing 60 minutes or even 30 minutes or any number of minutes, and focusing on that being like your goal to get to that number. That really takes the fun out of it, and it takes away the opportunity for exercise to be the perfect time to listen to your body. So if you're out running and your body is feeling exhausted, but you're aiming for this number, let's just call it 60 minutes. If you're aiming for 60 minutes and you're at 20 minutes and you're like dying thinking you have to do 40 more minutes, you're probably not going to want to go for another run the next day. You're going to think it was the worst experience ever. Instead, you would want to, at 20 minutes, allow yourself to walk and do anything else that you would enjoy that would enable you and excite you to exercise the next day. So remove any numbers. It doesn't even matter the numbers that I just said here. Any numbers that pop up in your mind, you want to remove those and really just focus on listening to your body. So another part of it is, if there's going to be certain days in your life that feel way more stressful or maybe way more calm than other days. So maybe there's a day that you've been running around all day for work. You are constantly going. It might not be the best choice to do an exercise where you're continuing to just constantly go, go, go. So doing something really fast, like spinning, for example. Unless that sounds like the best thing ever to you in that moment. You might instead want to give yourself the opportunity to do something more calming, like yoga or just stretching, anything that would help you to feel balanced for you in that moment.
Yeah, when you finish a workout, you want to feel refreshed. You want to feel energized. You want to feel at peace in your body. You do not want to feel burnout. Step number 3 is to move regularly in your daily life. Okay, so something about me, I love the idea of French women, and I think it seems so fabulous to be French, and I have this alter ego, her name's Anouk, and I love to imagine that. Love to imagine that like I'm this French woman and my name's Anouk, and like of course I walk everywhere and my life is all like croissants and cappuccinos, and it's just so romantic and lovely. But seriously though, the Europeans have it figured out. They walk everywhere. They take the stairs. They walk to the grocery store, they get a bag, and they walk back to their homes with them. I mean, the same really in big cities in the US, but in Europe it happens everywhere. So I think it's really, really important to get that image in your mind and start to try and cultivate that a little bit more in your daily life. So moving whenever you can, taking the stairs instead of the escalator or the elevator, even if you're driving somewhere, parking a little bit further away, walking. If there is somewhere that you can walk to where you can ride your bike to, you totally should. I pretty much ride my bike or walk everywhere because my husband and I share a car. So I'm basically like carless and have to bike wherever I need to go. And so you can create situations for yourself where you can be more active using a standing desk and standing some of the day. Whatever it looks like, taking little breaks from work to go out of your office and walk around. Maybe you're at an office and rather than emailing someone who is a few offices down, you just get up and walk down to his or her office sporadically throughout the day. Any kind of movement that you can just add into your life is so valuable.
Mm-hmm. And even if you don't live in a place that's super walkable, Simi and I both live in really walkable places now, but even if you don't, you can do things like instead of calling a friend and asking her to lunch, maybe call a friend and ask her to go to a park with you and make lunch, take lunch, like have a picnic there, and then walk around the park for the rest of the time. You can talk more to a friend when you're walking than you can almost any other time. So just make it fun, keep it consistent, and just have in the back of your mind that you're making this habit just to move more, not to be like the most athletic, I exercise all the time kind of person. Just this habit to be moving more every day in your daily life. There was a time where I used to be so fixated on numbers when I would exercise. It was basically the only thing I thought about when I exercised, which took so much fun out of it and really did not allow me to look at all the other benefits that exercise was giving me. It was a great way to relieve stress, to get rid of my anxiety that I dealt with at the time. It improved my mood, it helped me sleep better. I actually didn't even see that it made my day, like it made me feel happier during the day, just like I had done something for myself. But I couldn't even see that because I was only looking at it as a tool for weight loss. So when I was able to move away from that, I started picking more exercises that I liked. And I started to become okay with the fact that I don't like to do the same exercise for too long. So now I switch my exercise basically season to season. So I realized that during the summer, I love doing step classes. There's just so many people that are there. They're super energized. It's super fun. During the spring, I like to run. There's no other time during the year that I like running at all. During the winter, it's more cold, so I like being in the gym where it's warm and doing the elliptical and using weights. And there's times, mostly it's fall, when I just like to walk with my friends, and that's it. I don't like to go to the gym. I don't like to do anything else. And I used to think this was a huge problem for me. Like, oh my gosh, I can't stick to running. I should be a runner. Why am I not running? And when I finally just decided to accept my body and accept that, hey, I don't like running all the time. I only like it during one time of the year when it's gorgeous and warm outside. I don't want to do this all the time. It was not fun for me to exercise. But once I accepted that, it became so fun. I wasn't upset with myself for wanting to change my mind and do different things. I actually started to appreciate that about myself because I got to try so many new fun things.
Growing up, I was the least athletic person you ever met. I played every sport because I'm very social. So it was what all my friends were doing after school. So I felt like I have to, sign up for these sports so that I can hang out with them at practice, which was probably like a huge bummer for most of my friends because they were very athletic. So then I'd be like on their teams and trying to chat with them like out on the soccer field. And they were like, Simi, we're like actually trying to play a game here. So I did all these sports and I sucked at them terribly. Like I sat on the bench in every sport. If someone would pass me the ball in a soccer game or a basketball game, I would freak out and get really nervous and then just like pass it away immediately. I was not a sports person. So I never thought of myself as athletic. And then I went to college and I didn't work out. And like most people in their freshman year of college, I put on some weight. I didn't know that I put on any weight, though. Like, it should have been an indication that my pajama pants were getting too tight, but that didn't even like cue it in for me. So I went home and I sort of saw everyone looking at me like, whoa, like deer in a headlight, a little surprised. And when we were looking through our Christmas photos that my mom had taken to send out, I realized in that moment, I was like, whoa, I think I put on some weight. And so I got on the scale and I was like, yep, that definitely happened, the freshman 20. So I went back to school and started to try and work out a little bit to lose some of that weight. And a friend of mine, a great friend of mine, was a runner, and she encouraged me to train for a half marathon with her. And I thought, like, I'm not gonna be any good at this. I sucked at track. I ran the hurdles. I used to trip over hurdles all the time, like during meets. It was so embarrassing. And I trained with her, and it was so hard, but I did it, and it was this amazing feeling of accomplishment that I never had before, and I couldn't believe that me, someone who had been so unathletic, was able to do that. And I sort of immediately got hooked on running. And from there on out, I ran 5 to 6 days a week. I trained for half marathon after half marathon, trained for full marathons, loved running, didn't know what it was like before. My time would improve. I was like becoming really proud of myself and the work that I was doing. And there were a lot of benefits to it. But then it sort of took a turn for the worst. I broke my ankle running because I overtrained. I had a stress fracture and ran through it. And then my body started responding negatively to how much running I was doing, some hormonal imbalances. I felt like there was like some weight that was depositing on my stomach, which, like we talked about before, was a result of too much cortisol, those kinds of things. So I started to feel the negative effects, not to mention that I was basically addicted to running. So if I couldn't hit 5 or 6 times a week, I would freak out. I thought I was a total failure. I was gonna get super fat if I stopped. And it wasn't until I was doing an apprenticeship with Elle Griffin on female hormones so that I could use that knowledge with some of my clients. And she asked me, if there's one thing in your life that you're doing that you could stop doing, like you could just stop and everything else would stay the same, what would it be? And I just said running. And until that moment, I hadn't realized that I really hadn't enjoyed running in a really long time. So she told me, she's like, why don't you just give up running? Like, just stop running. And I was like, I can't do that. I can't imagine what that would be like. But she challenged me to do it for 30 days. So I gave up running for 30 days. And it was incredible because I found all these new ways of exercising that I really loved, and fell in love with barre, got back into yoga, decided to go for more walks. It took so much of the stress and pressure and structure out of my workout routine that I was able to experience a lot of freedom in working out in my body and a lot more fun. And after that time, I have had a few moments where I've wanted to run. So I've gone out for a run and it felt great. And I had one half marathon that I trained for, and I broke my previous PR by 6 minutes. And I truly think it's because my body was rested and I was really excited about it. And after that half, I decided I didn't really feel like running anymore. So now I feel like I have this much more balanced relationship with working out, where I can wake up and decide, like, do I feel like working out today? If I do, what would feel good? And I'm not forced to do one certain thing.